Today I'm here at J&R Herra Heating and Plumbing. I'm going to be talking with Brian Herra, who is the owner of this business. We'll be talking all about what it means to be a plumber and an HVAC technician and how you get into this trade and all about the industry. My name is Carson DeFelice. This is Behind the Job. All right, well, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell me what you do?
My name is Brian Herra, and I am the owner of J&R Herra Plumbing and Heating. We are a full-service home service remodeling and construction business.
Cool. So how long have you been in this industry for?
I have been doing this since I was about 14 years old. I got started working lots of summers and weekends in the family business.
And during like high school? And
yeah, during high school, whenever we had extra time, we'd come to work, and you were always had to pitch in whenever you could.
How long has this business been, J&R Herra, been around for?
So my dad and my uncle purchased the business in 1974. So we are at 50 years right now.
Wow, good for you. Take me through the evolution of it. You know, you started as just a plumbing shop, right?
Well, my dad and uncle it was jack of all trades, masters of none, but they started doing everything. So back when it was more farm country out here, they almost only did service and repair. Not until my two older brothers and siblings were involved in it did we start doing new construction and doing some of the things that we've done in the past. The evolution is that we have come full circle, and now we pretty much only do service and repair business. We had about a 15 to 18 year run where I thought it was a good idea to do a lot of new construction, and I wish I would have never taken that route. But when I was young, it was my dad. I mean, wake us up in the middle of the night. Sometimes to go help with a dairy farm that had no power. We had to get the cows so they would be able to get power and milk the cows, and go out in the middle of the night for storms or flooded basements. And you kind of were, when the phone rang after midnight, you knew that it was a emergency call. So.
Oh, and you're still 24/7, correct?
We are still 24/7. We have on-call guys now. I don't have to run myself all the time, but it's a hard business. It's hard to always be on call. The guys put a lot of time and energy into being on call.
Yeah.
Takes a lot from their families sometimes.
That makes sense. So take me through your infrastructure and the amount of workers you have. Is just one shop, right?
So we have actually just expanded to a second location.
Okay.
So we have we have outgrown our shop. We currently are in the old fire station in Elburn on North Street. We have expanded from there, and we've moved our HVAC to a location in Geneva. We recently just purchased another company called Tri-City Sheet Metal, and we have moved into their old location with our HVAC guys. It's been a huge step up. Our first location, where my dad and uncle got started, was about half the size of our shop in Elburn, and now we have added on about another double size of our location.
That's awesome. Good for you guys.
It's been going good. We run about 27 trucks every day, and we have 5 managers in the group to run and manage all the technicians. And then we couldn't do it without the help of all of our call takers and AP and AR people. And there's a whole slew of background of people to make what we do work.
Yeah. How many technicians do you have?
20. I think there's 27 right now.
Okay, so one per vehicle.
One per vehicle, yeah.
Okay.
We do have some apprentices. We do have an apprenticeship program. So we actually, summertime's coming up, we will have 4 kids from high school come in to kind of shadow for the summer, and we try to get them interested into the trades. We know that introduce people to the trades earlier the better. It's not normal. A lot of people these days are not trained at home to work with tools. Some of the kids that we have coming in have never picked up a tool, have never done anything, have never even seen the makings of fixing anything. But they have a knack for working with their hands. They're and it has become a good thing for us to start them earlier, and then let them find out if they want to go in this direction or go to college, or we actually have a lot of people now that work for me that went to college, got a degree, and have been come back to become a plumber and HVAC technician.
Yeah.
I say we're one of the most educated shops. I think 8 of our technicians all have 4-year college bachelor degrees. That's why I love to get younger kids that are in high school, but there's no obligation, there's no internship, there's no apprenticeship. It basically gets them involved, start learning some of the tools, start learning some of the fittings. In the plumbing and heating world, we have well over 100,000 different fittings. Like there's so many different things that you have to know, and maybe 100,000 is a exaggeration, but there are so many just different aspects of the job that they have to learn that they have no language for. So getting some of them just acquainted with all of this, telling them and showing them how to dig a ditch, to fix a drain pipe, to maybe help rot a drain. And if they can survive some of that, some of them keep coming back. And then, like I said, we had a couple of guys that worked through high school, all through college, got a bachelor's degree, and decided they didn't want to go elsewhere, and they came back in to start their apprenticeship after that fact. It's a testament to their will and power to, persevere as well.
Mm-hmm. For that apprenticeship, take me through what a kid out of high school is going to do. Let's say they're really motivated into plumbing. You start them at your shop, I'm sure very low wage, and then how do you work them through that to get them to a journeyman? So
in the plumbing world in the state of Illinois, there's a 5-year apprenticeship. We start them off, and I'm 45 years old, and I still don't know what I want to do. So we often have kids that come in that tell me they want to be an HVAC technician. We actually have one currently working for us who worked about 3 months and decided that he liked plumbing better, and he has now transitioned to the plumbing world. And that's what's nice about when they come into our shop, offering multiple different trades. People can pick and choose which one they like better. So a kid that comes in the shop, let's say a plumbing apprenticeship, we will send them to class. So after year 1, we start sending them to a 1-week class, or a 1-day class per week, and they can start doing some book training. What we offer is a lot of on-the-job training. You will shadow a mentor, someone that's probably been plumbing for 10 to 15 years, and you will actually interchange with lots of our plumbers. You will move between different technicians to learn different things at different times.
That makes sense. So what does that first year look like then?
First year looks like a lot of go for this and go for that. It is a lot of just learning what things are. A lot of cleaning the shop, cleaning the trucks, putting things away. You will get to a job multiple times a week and start with your hands-on stuff. But you are in direct supervision with a journeyman at all times.
You're starting from the ground.
Starting from the ground. You got a lot of these kids, like I said, don't even know how to use tools, so they'll show you how to use the tools.
Yeah, it's a good plan in place. And then the second year, you get them in school, and then they're doing this 1-day-a-week class till the rest of their apprenticeship.
For about 3 years.
Okay.
After year 4, you can actually sign up and start taking your test. The state of Illinois has a plumbing test that's 3 phases. It's a practical where you have to put some things together. There's a written where you got to pass a test and do some drawings, and then there is also the drawing, the written part, and then the practical part.
Okay. So what does a day in the life look like for your techs? They get here at 7, 8 o'clock?
So we have staggered start times. Some people, customers especially, like to have different times. So we have the early risers. A lot of the older customers love the first AM calls. A lot of the newer customers, younger ones, just get a first home, don't mind the 9, 10 o'clock start. And then you have some customers that take their kids to school and they want you to wait till they come back. So in order to serve our customers better, we do have staggered start times. Some of our guys work from 7 to 3:30. Others work from like 8:30 to 5. And then we also have a 9 to 6 type of schedule.
Okay. And then they go out in the fleet vehicle. And what jobs do they normally work on? What's most common?
There's nothing common in our world.
Okay.
So if you want to get into a trade that you're never doing the same thing twice, that it's a very good trade. That is one thing that intrigued me when I was a kid, was that there was really no monotony to our job. There was a lot of spontaneous problems. I think that is my one big thing that I love about the trades is that there's always a new challenge. There's always something to tackle. I don't think I would be very good at doing the same thing over and over every day. When I first started, we would do some new construction. Then I would run off to a service call, and then you'd go back to do a commercial job. And then as you jump between all these things, everything is just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. You guys mainly work on residential?
No, we're a residential and commercial, smaller commercial stuff. We don't get into big industrial jobs and things like that, but mainly all repair now. Repair and replacement.
Those jobs that you're in the residential or small commercial, what are they like out of this? What do they normally work on in here? Is this pretty much
so? This is pretty much a residential situation. Some small commercial applications will have your typical furnace installed. An office complex, kind of such as this, can have a residential type furnace installed in there. Water heaters, they have a commercial type, which look just like a residential. They're a little bit beefier, a little bit stronger, a little bit stronger parts, a lot more capacity sometimes, lot stronger burners and a lot bigger return on your water. To get more water made up faster for a larger population of people.
So it's just repairing these major
Yep,
systems.
It's repairing or replacing all of this stuff.
Okay.
Today's world, technology, like the tankless that's up there in the corner, it's becoming more prevalent, and it's harder and harder to work on this stuff. So there's a lot more schooling. So one thing in our trade is it never ends. You never stop learning. If you stop learning, you start dying basically, because your standard water heaters now have turned into a little hanging device on a wall. And if you open that up, there are wires galore and sensors and safeties and lots of different things going on. And that has become challenging from some of the older technicians not wanting to learn. Can't teach a dog new tricks, right? Or old dog new tricks. And that is what's happening to some technicians aren't wanting to learn about this stuff. But it is becoming a norm, as marketing works, as technology changes, and as the government shifts to more energy efficient products out there, you have to change with the times. Furnaces and air conditioners now, they're starting to offer heat pumps, where when my dad got started, if you had a heat pump, he would always say, you're crazy, because it would never work in a cold climate, and you couldn't, and while he was right, they have now since got technology that lets heat pumps work in cold climates. They do struggle from time to time. There is a thing called geothermal heat pumps, and now, which used to be super efficient, and now they're getting air source heat pumps to about the same efficiencies as a geothermal heat pump.
And what other technology have you seen come in?
So in the heat pump world, a lot of them are inverter or variable speed compressors. So, and they have usually what they call like belly pans and things to keep them from freezing in the middle of winter. And then there's different technology they have in those to keep them from freezing up. So the nice thing with some of the heat pump options, so currently in our office, because the women in the office love one temperature and the men in the office love a different temperature, I used to walk by it at night to go home, and there would be electric space heaters in a lot of the women's offices, and I'd have to go by and shut them off. And the problem with electric space heaters is they're very inefficient, and also they're fire hazards. So I was kind of fed up with turning them on and off. So when we redid the offices, we put in a Mitsubishi split heat pump system to where every office has their own thermostat. They have their own temperature control. So then this way, if one person wants air conditioning, the other person can be heating their office. And this way we don't have to worry about fire hazard, we don't have to worry about high energy bills, and we don't have to worry about me turning them off at night or remembering to turn them off at night. So.
Yeah. I guess we'll get back to the new technology later, but give me some of the benefits to plumbing as an industry. Why should somebody young look into this over the traditional college route?
So I went to college. I went to college because I wasn't ready to work. Um, so after high school, I thought I was going to be a plumbing and a heating guy, and I started working that summer, and I was working all the time, and I was missing out on some fun things. So I ran to the local community college, and I ended up going to a 4-year college afterwards and getting my college degree. I still worked in the summers. I still worked spring breaks and winter breaks and stuff. However, I just realized I wasn't ready for that route. When you do find out you're ready and you're in the trades, or you find out that you know what you love to do, there is a lot of reward. Some of it's just fulfilling. Some of it is just knowing that you can build things with your hands. Some of it's knowing that somebody's calling you to fix a problem or solve their problem. That's one thing I love most about it, is that people need us. The more sophisticated we build our products, the more repairs there are on them. So everybody used to say, or everybody still says, they don't make them like they used to. And I disagree with that, because I think that there's a lot of quality built into every piece of equipment that's out there. It's just that either the government has enacted a lot of safeties to make people safer in their home, or that we have made them so efficient because there's more people in the world, we're trying to use less energy and less consumption, that there's more technology built into every piece of equipment. From a water heater, from a tankless, to air scrubbers for your air, to furnace filters, to everything, there is more technology. While we use computers to assist us in diagnosing and solving problems, you still need real world hands-on experience, and nothing beats the brain. Nothing can beat going through and treating the home. The big overall reward throughout this whole program basically is just that from start to finish, you are there helping that person feel safe, comfortable, and have a healthy home. I try to teach all of our techs that we don't want to just go there to treat a piece of equipment. We are there to treat the home. We want that customer to be comfortable. We want them to be happy. We want them to be safe. And that's where I think kind of sets ourselves apart, is I'm not sending a mindless technician in there who's only worried about solving a problem because you said the air conditioner didn't work. They're trying to solve a whole home situation.
Yeah, I hear that plumbers are the doctors of homes, right?
Our plumbers, I love them all, but yes, they like to, feel that they are the doctors of the home. That is a great terminology.
Gotcha.
In the trades, the mechanicals, your plumbing, your heating, even your electrical, if that stuff doesn't function, it doesn't matter how pretty it looks, you're not comfortable, you're not safe, you're not happy. Some people would love to look at crown molding and 3-panel doors and all of the other stuff, but your home, your heartbeat, all your mechanicals need to be sound. They need to be working. If you have a flooded basement, nobody's happy.
Pay in this trade seems like people are saying it's all over the place. What is a non-union, because you're a non-union shop,
Yep.
What does a non-union journeyman, what can they make?
So we are non-union. However, we do pay pretty much scale for a union wage. We also pay spiffs and bonuses. So every person in our shop has the ability to earn money based on doing their jobs, and it's all little things. It's little things from getting a customer review to leaving options for customers. One thing is, like I said, we're not there just to treat the problem, but if you see something else, say something. I don't want us to be robots. I want us to see the whole home for what it is. So, as far as a dollar amount, everybody has the ability to make over $50 an hour. And they can all, get health benefits, and they can all have 401k for retirement. And we offer paid sick times. We have up to 3 weeks paid PTO time. We have all the technicians take a company truck home. They all have cell phones. They get a gas card to fill their gas truck up to and from. There is a lot of reward for somebody that wants to get in this trade. Now, one of the problems with the younger generation, though, is they all want instant gratification. This is not a trade that, and I tell everybody when I hire them or when we interview them, that don't think in a month or a week or 2 months or 3 months or even 2 years that you're going to know everything and you're going to go make $100,000. It's
Buy
not,
a house.
or buy a house. It's just not a reality. So we have to tell people and over because they soon forget that you just had a conversation with them that that you don't know everything. And customers trust us with their home. We're not sending anybody to a house that's not adjusted, that's not ready, that's not there to actually do the job in the right way.
So when you're going through the hiring process, what do you like to look for?
I hire the people sometimes over the skill. So when we look to hire somebody, I want a quality person first. I don't need the person that's quote unquote the best of the best, or that think they're the best of the best. I don't want somebody that isn't a team player. So I want somebody that is going to be a team player, that has the determination to satisfy the customer, who wants to do right by everybody, and me as well. I mean, they are the face of the company for the most part. Sometimes nobody knows that I own the company. I sit back and I'm in the office a lot, but I'm also directing everybody where to go. And sometimes it's a mind-numbing job that you're sitting there dealing with all the problems, and you got to let your technicians be the face. But that comes with the hiring, is making sure that you're hiring a quality person who wants to do the right thing by the customer every time.
Yeah. And what qualities do you like to see besides just do you have a work ethic, I'm sure?
Work ethic is something that you can kind of teach more. I don't know that you can teach people to want to help or be a good person. I don't know. And maybe that's wrong, but in my experience, I think some of that's inherent. I think some of that's been born and raised and bred into them as they have gotten older, is that they have that knack and that need to help serve and want to help people out. As far as a work ethic, and even now, 25 years after really taking into this trade at 20 years old, it is different. The time is not what we came from. When we were a smaller family-owned company, we didn't have anybody else. It was either you went and did the job or nobody did the job. So there was a lot more nights, there was a lot more weekends, there was a lot more early mornings, and that's what it took to do the job, and you did it. Now with the extra people and the whole company and the teamwork, you're not always having to work 12, 14 hours. Now, there are guys, we still do that. Sometimes we have emergencies overnights that these guys will go out 12, 14 hours, and we will, struggle to get things done. But our whole goal is to come together and work together. And if you have that knack to be a team supporter, it's easy to do. And the work ethic comes second, because everybody kind of, gets around each other and supports each other.
And you have to be adaptable too with all this new technology. So
yes, without a doubt.
So if you were to go back to your 20-year-old self, what advice would you tell him, and what would you tell the younger generation out there that's looking to be a plumber?
That's a good question. I don't know what different I would do. I never spent a lot of time in my teen years thinking about what I wanted to do. I just kind of always thought that I would be in the business until the time came, and then I ran the college. So I don't know that I would just tell myself to look more. One thing I do a little different with my son is let him know that right now, like school and sports and extracurriculars come first. I do want him to work. He is starting at 15 years old. He is starting this summer for the first time, helping out, because I think it's a necessity. But I want him to know that school and work, or the extracurricular sports, your teammates come first. You need to find time for the job. But once that stuff ends at 18, or if you go to college and it ends, you have the rest of your life to work. You do need to understand what it takes, and you need to jump in. I don't know that I would change a lot in my world. The only thing I really wish that I would have had a mentor longer. My dad passed away in 2009, and I wish that I would have been asking more questions. Even though I respect him letting me fail, sometimes it would be nice, even now, to say, hey, what do you think about this? Mm-hmm. And while I've built a team around me that I can do that with, it's still sometimes nice that it would be your dad answering those questions for you.
So what are the common mistakes then do you see the younger kids come in making?
I don't know there's any one common mistake. I mean, we all make mistakes. I make mistakes. I make mistakes every day. The biggest thing is, I think, though, is they don't own up to them. So I've had a kid that got a little fender bender with our truck and a pole, but he came and parked the truck and walked home. He parked the truck and drove in his car, but instead of just owning me and telling me, I find it the next day, and then it's a bigger problem. Just taking responsibility. We all mess up, but the biggest thing is, I think, looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I messed up. I had a problem. This is what happened, and I'm very forgiving because I know I make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, and that's the first thing I do is I can say that I messed up. How do I fix it? How do we correct it? And make a plan to hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, learn from him like we were talking about before.
Yep.
So HVAC, kind of talk me through what that is. Obviously it's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, but what does that exactly mean? And especially for the ventilation, because it's not very commonly talked about.
No, it is actually one of the the silent V, right? In ventilation in HVAC. We don't talk about it enough. Even some of my techs, we constantly train on it, but your home needs to breathe. As the homes are getting tighter and tighter these days, homes don't breathe as much. Everybody puts in super triple pane, argon glass filled windows, so like they don't leak any air. Well, when homes don't leak any air, they also don't breathe in any air. We get calls from people that try to light their fireplaces after putting new windows in, but the fire won't vent. There's no fresh air coming into the homes. Now that we're making houses tighter, we actually have full systems to bring in fresh air into your house to breathe, to let it breathe. If you do not let your home breathe, it gets actually dirtier and dustier and has more airborne bacteria and particles than even outside. There are a whole slew of things out there nowadays to help with your ventilation and also help with your indoor air quality. COVID came and it really put a light on indoor air quality for customers because of it talks about bacteria and viruses and all the stuff that makes us sick. And then people started really looking into it. So if you built a new construction house today, the energy requirement is more insulation in the walls, more insulation in the ceiling. But with that is your houses don't breathe and they don't let in fresh air. So now when we put in the new furnace system, we actually will duct in a fresh air system that will exchange air about every 20 minutes and dump it into your return before it goes back to your furnace that will either heat it or cool it before it goes into your home. Also, when people cook, a lot of new homes have big, huge commercial type ovens. They have 4 and 5 foot exhaust hoods that will vent out more air than your home can bring in. And what will happen is you will pull your home into what they call a negative, and it can pull out a flue. It can actually take a pilot light and pull it out because it will bring so much air down your chimney and it can snuff out that pilot light. So with all these new fresh air requirements in homes, if you have a new system with a hood over 300 CFM, we actually have to bring in a larger type fresh air system that is tied to your exhaust hood. So when you turn your exhaust hood on, it actually turns on the fresh air system as well. Wow. Now there are other things that bring in fresh air where it will pre-exchange with them called energy recovery ventilators or heat recovery ventilators. Depending on where you live in the United States, will determine which one you'll use.
And what about that radiant heat flooring system?
So that's, it's been a lot of new construction houses, people will pay for that upgrade. It is becoming more and more common.
Is it expensive?
It is expensive.
Okay.
So you're actually double dipping, because not only are you putting radiant heat in your whole house, you are still having to put an air conditioner system in. So your typical home right now built in a subdivision has the furnace and air conditioner that will do heat and cool. However, if you want the luxury of having radiant heat in your home, you need to put a boiler into the side, do all the radiant floor heat, still do all the ductwork to put an air conditioner in for your home.
Wow.
So it's about comfort at that point. So some people, I've had some customers back in the day. So I had an engineer once as a customer who really wanted the best efficient system in the market. And he says, some people like sports cars, some people like fancy, big homes. I want an energy efficient home. So he spent more money on an energy efficient home than buying the sports car, than having a big fancy home. So it all depends on what your priority is.
Okay, so back to those newer people coming into the trade, or maybe even I'm sure there's a lot of people in the trades that are kind of getting burned out, any other trade, and they want to look into plumbing. What would you say to them?
Well, if you do want to leave another trade, or just a different career, we have people that have try to jump ship.
Is it common?
It's not common, but there are people that did something for 5 or 10 years and now are trying to get into the trade. We see actually a lot of auto mechanics that are 5 or 10 years in that try to get into the HVAC world, and that's okay, because they already have the mechanical aptitude. They're already a little bit ahead, so a little bit of training goes a long way with them. When you get a new person that wants to jump into plumbing, let's say they were a white collar worker, they still have that 5-year apprenticeship. That's my only talk to them, is like, you still have to go through all the steps in order to get into a truck, because the way the state of Illinois does with licensing, you still have to pass all the hurdles.
Wow. And how long into a career can somebody go in this trade?
Well, with the change, you can make it forever. And that's actually one thing that's happened with us is, so when I got out of college, we were doing nothing but new construction. And I say nothing. We did mostly new construction, and we always did service. But service was kind of that back burner. It was kind of like, oh, swing by here and do this, and swing by there and do that on the way home. You did your 8-hour day, and then you ran a service call. To where now homeowners today don't actually want to fix anything, or just like your cars are getting more and more sophisticated, equipment's getting more and more sophisticated, and they can't fix anything because you don't have the tools. Nobody wants to go buy a $3,000 tool to try to fix the air conditioner. So that's where it's opening up the longevity in the trade, is that working on some of the home stuff is body saving. So the transition that we've done is, as we've taken steps in our trade, in a world, is, even with me going to the service world, is it really helps anybody that's been running through new construction be able to work till 60 or 65 years old and not kill themselves or break their body or have back surgeries or knee surgeries and all those other things.
That's awesome. So have you seen more, you've probably seen more old guys come out than new guys come in?
Yes. I don't remember where I saw it. I think it was we have a continuing education class we're going to take every year to keep our plumbing license. I think I saw a number this last year that said that there was something like, in the state of Illinois, over 5,000 of the plumbers in the state of Illinois are over 55 years old, but there's only, like 1,000 people getting in every year. So we're not going to replace plumbers at the pace that we need to.
So that's really good for somebody looking to get in. There's not as much competition. Everybody's hiring.
Pretty much you could probably find an apprenticeship or an opening at any given shop. Now, that doesn't mean that they're just going to take you. You have to show up. Showing up on time probably is one of the hardest things that young kids don't do, but it is one of the easiest things to do. To show up and have a can-do attitude is the first thing. We have some apprentices. I had one guy make it 4 hours. He started, and 4 hours later, he got in his car and left and never came back. I had another guy make it a day and turn around and leave. So I'd rather you just tell me that you didn't like it than just leave. But at the same time, it is it is hard, but there is rewards.
And what's the best path to take? Because you can Do you recommend just them walking into these shops and asking for an apprenticeship?
No, I mean, I don't usually take people that come to the door. We are busy. I would try to call and set up an appointment if you could. Maybe reach out to that shop, reach out and see if they're hiring first. The internet's a good thing. Go out there and see if there's any applications anywhere. Indeed is a good place. You can put a resume so the employer, when they're looking, can go out and search for your resume. But if you know you heard or like a shop or something's local to you, at least reach out through an email or even a phone call and say, can I email somewhere? And, can I set up an interview?
What do you think about the associate degrees and or the trade schools? I know you have some HVAC schools. Do you have plumbing schools as well?
I only know of one plumbing school. Nothing beats hands-on in the field. I know there's online classes now that you can do like through HVAC, almost like VR goggles where you don't have any hands-on. The problem with that is that you don't have any hands-on. You don't, like I said, some of these kids don't even know what tools are. So while they're connecting a hose to a hose, they don't actually know how to turn a wrench to fix the problem. So I do not mind the trade schools as a good starter, but a lot of the kids come out thinking that they're going to hop into a truck. That is the biggest misconception that they need to understand, that and maybe some shops do that. We are not a shop that does that. I want everybody to be vetted by my senior technicians to make sure that they're not going to leave somebody worse off than they went to the first time.
And then once they get into your shop, how does that path look when you're, like we always talk about, where you're constantly growing, but when you're 10 years into the field, and are there any guys that get burned out that want to leave?
I don't know I've had anybody at 10 years leave the trade. I had one kid that actually was about 3.5 years into his plumbing apprenticeship that went back to become a mechanic, an auto mechanic. But I don't have a lot of people leaving because you do invest a lot of time, energy, and sweat and maybe even tears into it. So it's not something that you're going to take lightly to just leave and just walk away from. So when you get somebody that invested, they seem to be invested for a long time.
And like we were talking about with the pay, you would say that you can't afford a family and to live in a decent home in this trade.
Yes. I mean, I know that we have several of our people making well into, six figures. It is hard, as prices have risen and nothing seems to be getting cheaper. It is hard. So to what it takes to do a family, I do not know exactly what they do, but if you invest and you spend your money wisely, yes, you can make a career out of it and still have a family and still have time for extracurriculars like baseball and softball and hockey and all those things that cost lots of money
for your kids. Yeah.
And we try to do, we want family time. We try to give our guys time at home. While you do work 24/7, sometimes there's on call. We try to stagger your schedule so you don't get burnt out. That you're only on call 1 out of every 6 to 8 weeks. That you might only be on call for 7 or 8 times for the whole year. We want you to get to your son's hockey game. We want you to get to a baseball game, a cheer competition, a play, a musical. It was different back in the day, but we have really tried to center ourselves around family first. We have, as I've grown, and you get families, you get kids and things, I want to make their events. I want to be able to be there for them in different ways. So I know it's important for my technicians and all of our employees and their families to be for their family.
So with your business starting in 1974, what were the mistakes that you guys made that kind of set you guys back, and then how did you bounce back from them?
So for me, I don't know anything about the mistakes that were made before I got there. I got in full time in 2002, and the mistakes I made that I see, basically one of the biggest first mistakes I made was keeping, for us at least, it's not for every shop, but the new construction aspect of things for me, there was good and bad. So the good was you learned a lot about how things went together. You learned about how to fix something in the future. So the nice thing for me is longevity-wise, maybe it's not a hard mistake now, but 20 years later, you know how things went together, so it's easier to fix something. So, but we lost a lot of time, energy, and money in those first 10 to 15 years that I wish I would have had back. I wish I would not have gone that route. My dad and uncle, basically for the first 30 some years, did almost exclusively service and repair. And I wish we would have stayed in that route. I wish that my dad, before he passed away, would have been like, I think what you're doing is dumb, and not done that. That's my biggest thing going forward. However, I will put a spin on it and say, at least I did learn from it. I will always say I've tried to learn from everything I do. So there's nothing wrong with people doing new construction. It just wasn't for us. It wasn't for our business. It was not a good stepping stone in the grand scheme of things. Looking back, some of the hardest times were caused because of it. Was from the recession of 07, 08. One of the hardest things for us was getting through that. There was a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of, and I'm not ashamed to say this, crying at home, wondering what we're going to do next. It was a very dark and tough time because things weren't being built, and we were mostly new construction. While we did have some service, I thought we were going under. It was a huge struggle. If we would have had more service and more service contracts and more customers, it would have been an easier transition to get through. People will always need something fixed. People don't always need to put an addition on. People don't always need to remodel a kitchen. People don't always need to put a new master bathroom or a Four Seasons room. It was a time that we scraped by. Everybody would show up to the shop and look at me and be like, so what are we going to do today? And I didn't know how to look at anybody and try to lay them off. I would call anybody and everybody I know and beg, basically, hey, I know you wanted this work done 3 years ago. What about doing it now for half price? And I owe a lot of people out there, customers that helped us do that, a big thank you, because it was a very challenging time, and it was challenging for anybody, but without some of those customers and without our guys and gals helping me through, like it was that's the hardest lesson, to come full circle. Wow. And I'm glad that we got here, but also at the same time, I don't wish to ever go through that again.
Is there anything else that you want to share about J&R Herra, plumbing industry, HVAC?
I just want everybody to know that it is a rewarding industry. It's a rewarding career. There are lots of different avenues to take in the plumbing and heating world, but I think that we have a lot to offer as far as what is financially, but also a family-oriented solution, something that you can grow into, something that you can retire in. And we don't like people to just come and go. We love to train for future and for success. Because if you can be successful and you can persevere, then we're going to be successful as a company.
Thank you, Brian and J&R Herra, for taking the time to do this podcast. Please let me know what you think down below. And if you or anyone else knows someone who would be interested in doing this podcast, my email is in the description below. Thanks.